Skibidi Toilet 79 got me 70 crying. It's been 3 weeks, and it's still hard to accept it. There were so many emotional and dramatic moments in part 2, but I think we can all agree. It had one moment that stands out among the rest, something that upset everyone, but for different reasons. Some enjoyed the deeply emotional scene, while some had major contentions with how it was written. In this video, we will discuss this scene at length, going over the secrets, implications, and reactions from every angle. Let's tend to this dramatic end that Boom penned. Yo guys, Plunger here. Halfway into episode 79, with the threat of the Watchmen of Doom looming over the base, a group of cameramen, including Kathy, leave the base to defend it, in order to buy time while the majority evacuates inside. Boom's alternate subtitles seem to confirm that she indeed led this group out. However, the Astros play a card so insane, it changes the course of the series forever. Something none of them, or us, were anticipating. They unleash the largest, most powerful red screens we've ever seen over the entire camera base, instantly affecting every cameraman there, even those wearing lenses. In fact, it's affecting me through the screen a bit. The only agents currently outside and able to act are our POV, a speaker man, and the Scarf TV man. We attempt rescues, but we don't have the strength to stop everyone. Then, after we are shot across the gravel by an obliterator, laying on the ground, we witness the saddest moment of the episode unfold. Kathy, camera glued to the screens, aims her weapons at her own head. We hear her words.
"It's my fault. It was always my fault."
Before she succumbs to the screen's influence. Then, that's it. She's gone. It's clear why this struck the audience so strongly. But firstly, let's focus on her words. Part of what she means is obvious. It makes sense for her to feel some guilt in this moment, considering she led this group of cameramen outside only to be fed to the red. But she said it's always her fault. That word implies she's blaming herself for something big. She could be referring to the events of 77, where the cameramen fought against impossible odds on the battlefield, perhaps encouraged alongside her own attitude after Plungerman's death. This in turn played a part in prompting Titan TV Man to show up, and we all know how that ended. Maybe she's carrying guilt over Plungerman's death directly? Or did something awful happen back at Star that she feels like she was directly involved with? We should also consider the music choice here. In this moment, Boom uses a Silent Hill track named Shadows of My Past, which further implies there might be something in her history we aren't yet aware of. We can't really be sure what it is she's referring to, and no one answer seems more likely than another. But this is only half of the puzzle. Has she actually been feeling this way? Or is it just her warped mind, being under the red screen influence? This is where Boom's clarifications may help us. Firstly, in his email to a fan regarding both Kathy and Dave, he mentions that they were not suicidal. He says that Plungerman was willing to give life in a dire moment and keep fighting, no matter the stakes. This inspired others, even their Titan. Camerawoman, after his passing, took it upon herself to join the front lines. Again, specifically not suicidal. Sure, she's affected by his death, but that's manifesting in a determined, proactive way. Nowhere in this message does he even hint that Camerawoman harbored more dark guilt or other feelings within herself. More recently, he's pretty much spilled the beans entirely on how the red screens actually work, and that changes how we can look at this scene. A fan emailed Boom, confused and concerned about the reasons behind Kathy's death and why she'd do this. Boom says, "Red screen is something that causes such physical and psychological severe pain and malfunction that your body starts working against you, whether you're machine or biological, and the only way you see getting out of pain is to tap out by dying as quickly as possible." Well, first thing I want to say is, G-Toilet becoming somewhat immune to it is even more impressive now. Boy's pain tolerance is unfathomable. But about the screens themselves, in my analysis, I had proposed that they are more psychological than physical. However, it's more of an even split. But the main point I made is confirmed. The screens don't just force your body to do something, they make you want to do it. To me, this response hints strongly that Kathy's thoughts in this moment are mostly a symptom of the red screens, amplifying something small that may have been below the surface. We learn even more in this email which may become relevant. Boom continues, "Even if something blocks your own arms from killing, long exposure still kills you. It just takes longer. So the screens don't just influence how you feel and behave. There's also some kind of radiation which is physically damaging, or they gradually scramble your brain." Boom then expands upon the screen's effectiveness against different types of entities. Red screen's exposure affects and weakens not only cameras but speakers, TVs, and computers too. But it doesn't affect them directly, because they have no vision in conventional sense. This line tripped many people up due to Boom's use of computer after listing other alliance types. However, he later clarified he meant computers in general, which likely covers things like this guy, and the scientist's dusty mech, for example. Anyway, here's where it gets interesting for the subject of this video. At the end he adds, "Notwithstanding this, your intuition does not lie. Something indeed may be wrong and not right," which seems to confirm that, yes, something about this death is suspicious, and that's intentional. Firstly, this scene is not 100% literal. Notice the tricks that Boom is using here. Her weapons charge up in an exaggerated manner. At first I wondered if the whole scene was in slow-mo. The fire doesn't seem to slow down. However, the blood in her falling is almost certainly slowed. Just look at it. Regardless, there's no question the moment is stylized. The sound completely drowns out, and we even hear her voice, which I believe is her inner monologue, not her literally speaking. Similar to moments in 77 and Season 25 that we as the audience could see, but weren't literally happening. It makes you wonder what else in this moment might not be literal. One of the biggest things that feels off here is that our POV doesn't move. We speak, we plead, but bro doesn't even reach out a pinky. It's likely that he just became too weak at this moment, having just been shot at and stuck under the red glow for a while now. As we read before, the red screens weaken even speakers. Oh, and Scarf? We see bro get flung across the yard, so he's not able to help. Next time we move, we get up with minimal effort, so we weren't trapped under debris or anything. Regardless of the reason, it was left ambiguous. Maybe this could be made clearer in the full episode, such as a beat showing our arms failing, or sparking, or some rubble landing on top of us. Finally, some of you noticed that we don't see Camera Woman's body again when we begin to escape, which seemed to add to the mystery. However, previously, we saw that Kathy was in a wide open area with no metal, but as we escape, that area is completely covered with debris. So, sadly, she's likely just trapped under everything at that point. Okay, moving on. Let's do a deeper analysis of the secrets in the footage. So, by this point, we all know that there's more to this scene than you'd notice on first watch. Some single-frame Skibidi sussery. When we pause on the saddest frame on the episode, we see this very obvious figure. It's a person. Due to YouTube compression, it's hard to totally make out their form, but some aspects seem obvious if we compare frames. This is not a vision of PLUNGERMAN in Kathy's final moments. No, this is something we aren't familiar with. They seem to be wearing a cinched trench coat. Their arms are down by their sides. And if we take a peek up here, they seemingly have a rectangular or box-shaped head. Naturally, the most popular theory is that they have a screen for a head, but it's not conclusive at this time. In fact, we can see it's large, blocky, and includes their shoulders. It's kinda weird. But why the heck does bro flash for one frame? Well, remember those green cameramen we saw in 70, or G-Toilet in episode 77? In both these moments, we've seen that bright lights and explosions can illuminate characters under invisibility. The same could be happening here, illuminated by the flash of Camera Woman's weapons. But it looks a little different to those examples. What do you think? So who is it? TV man? Computer man? This character naturally strikes up memories of this lil sneaky freak, hiding a distance from us, who we see twice in episode 74, while TV Daddy does his short-range teleports. But the shape of this new guy's head doesn't seem to match them at all. Neither does the outfit for that matter. Thing is, we only see that guy while teleporting. Are they cloaking with invisibility, or are they in the void? We can't conclusively link the two together at this time, as they both look different and appear under different conditions. For all we know, this may be a brand new character entirely. Okay, let's shift gears and take a look behind her, where there's something else we haven't touched on here which may help us answer. We see this strange shape, illuminated in green. There are many theories as to what this is. The most common one is that this is the shapeshifter, or some similar administrator-related entity, actively accessing her memories to preserve her. This assumption is natural, as we know that this collective can access tech, hack cameramen, remotely destroy them, and more, all effortlessly. What's a little rescue effort to entities that powerful? However, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I mentioned in my previous video that, while interesting, there's a very real chance that all of this up here is literally just distortion effects. You can see her little antenna thing right there. Notice how it appears on the exact frame that the distortion begins? On the frame with the person, some people have pointed to this area which looks like a remote or even a floppy disk. Unfortunately, no. This is again just a doubled up version of that antenna thing on her head, caused by yet more of these distortion effects. While that might be disheartening, we're ignoring something big. Why the heck is it green? That's honestly the most convincing part of this, but it's also possibly just a result of effects. We've seen previously that when explosions are overlaid on blue particles, they end up looking green. This occurs very clearly in episode 74, where Titan Cameraman's blue energy appears green specifically under the glow of explosions. If this really is just a distorted version of her head, this green part could easily be her blue lens under the same effect. Some also pointed out this thing here that seemingly flies away. It looks like a walkie-talkie, but I think it's just one of various bits of debris. You can see this one here, and also this one up here. Her head just exploded, so makes sense. But I won't say that any of this is definitely debunked. While the person on the right is the only thing we can confirm is deliberate at this time, it's all very suspicious indeed. And I genuinely do hope it's agent-related. Whether it's 1, 2, or 50 entities, the real question is, what's their true purpose here? Many fans think they were there to preserve Kathy's memory, but we don't actually have strong evidence of that. The figure isn't reaching out or making contact, they're just standing there. Menacingly! We can't see that they've interacted physically at all. The rescue theory is mostly an inference based on what the Administrators Collective have done before. We don't even know for sure where their memories are stored, or how accessible they would be to a nearby entity. Believing her to be not truly dead may also be a little copium on our part, the first phase of grief. Because it's entirely possible she's not been rescued at all. Maybe this is all part of these guys' plan. Maybe they are there to ensure that this happened. Or there's a non-zero chance it's symbolic rather than literal. Something meant to clue us into a bigger idea, rather than someone actually doing something to influence Kathy directly. I don't know, it's quite a mystery that Boom has laid out for us. Yet another in a sea of ongoing mystery plot threads. And I'm quite excited to finally find out more about it, and potentially more in only 2 episodes' time. Okay, my lil skibidis, time to finally tackle the feedback to this death and its implications. Buckle up. The reaction to Kathy's sudden death is unlike anything we've seen before. People have expressed sadness, disappointment, anger, and much, much more. I mean, just look at Steak's chat while watching part 2. That's insane, guys. This is what we are dealing with here. Let's go over some of the points I've seen being made. And while I don't agree with a lot of the issues raised, I'm not just going to run defense here. This reaction from so many people stems from a real place, and I have my own suggestions for how this scene could be refined, which I'll mention after we discuss these arguments. It's undeniable that this death is shocking. Nobody, myself included, expected it to be her, even in the final moments. As I have said in the previous video, I do get why this death is jarring, and in a situation like that, it's natural to question what the hell happened. But something I saw being expressed a lot was that this death made no sense. Now, this is one of those complaints that spread early on, but I'm sure is well understood by now. However, I still want to touch on it. Essentially, some were questioning why she even did this, confused that it even could have happened. Guys, look what she was facing. It's the goddamn red screens, guys. This is literally what they do. 4 astro-enhanced Titan-sized red screens, to be clear. Y'all thought these just wouldn't do anything? By the way, this situation was arguably foreshadowed within the details Boom added to 77, the same episode of Watchmen of Doom's debut. Do you remember how her lens falls off here the last time we see her? It's not a literal precursor, because we know that lenses don't help, but it's a very random and specific detail and seems like a symbolic foreshadow to me. And no, she wasn't randomly throwing herself away in this episode. Her actions, while upsetting in hindsight, had purpose. Kathy was leading a group of cameramen to defend the base, buying time while the rest inside evacuated equipment, and it worked. And as we discussed before, this wasn't her being suicidal. This is her voluntarily pushing on the front lines, willing to face danger head-on if it meant protecting others. And she did just that. So yeah, her death was shocking, but not senseless. It's in line with Plungerman's legacy, not running, even when the odds are hopeless. For some, this death felt too sudden. Essentially, the vibe is that Boom completely destroyed her character arc she had only just begun, going so far as to call it bad writing. And I get where they're coming from too. We only just saw her begin to express herself and respond to Plungerman's loss. And then the next time we see her, she exits the base and dies. She only just began to process this grief and turn it into something new, and that's why it feels like wasted potential to a lot of people. But that doesn't make it bad writing. Timing is what makes death hit hard. If we only ever lost characters at the very end of their arcs, after they're finished or in the same heroic way as MJ, it would be predictable and safe. AKA boring, bro. Boom shattered our assumption of plot armor, and in doing so, he made both the Astros and the red screens twice as terrifying. Kathy's death hits like the mothership precisely because she did have potential left. It wasn't meant to be flashy or triumphant, but rather abrupt and brutal. And that sting of, wait, what? And, but she wasn't done yet, is exactly what raises the stakes for everyone else moving forward. It sends a message to the audience. Astros don't give a single shit about Kathy's potential. They'll happily snuff your favorite characters out one by one, with minimal effort, and make you watch. It's goddamn brutal. It feels wrong. And that's exactly why it hits, guys. So, another criticism I saw a lot is that this death was pointless and that it serves no purpose, essentially calling it fluff. contrived drama, something that doesn't move the plot forward at all. But guys, how can you possibly know that? We can't deem it pointless before the ramifications of it can even be explored. Kathy's death could ripple in ways we don't yet see. We have no idea what will happen next because of this. We have no idea what we'll learn about what led up to this, and assuming that it'll be nothing is a bit uncharitable towards Boom, isn't it? In a recent email to a fan, Boom hinted explicitly that all of this is leading up to something, urging fans to hold on for the full episode. This eased some people's opinions a little bit, as it's pretty explicitly saying, guys, wait, I have plans. But guys, we didn't have to wait for this email. Boom literally said these events are all leading up to something well before 79 Part 2 even released. And it'd be weird to assume they aren't, to be honest. So, please, let's not be so uncharitable in future. Personally, I don't think it's awful writing at all. This death, in this episode, in this manner, at this point in her arc,
in this part of the country,
is perfectly valid and powerful, but I won't pretend it's not possible to improve it. So the small issues I have with how this moment is portrayed boils down to three things. Firstly, the ambiguity of her last words. We didn't really know why she said these things. Since it released, Boom clarified that the red screens affect you psychologically, but even now we still can't be sure what she's even blaming herself for in that moment. Perhaps if we had her thought process in that moment, how her mind was being warped, shown to us in some way, it would have helped. Secondly, the lack of clarity for the inaction of our POV. As I discussed previously, I think making it obvious why no one acts to help Kathy in her last moments would go a long way to making this death feel earned in a sense. I don't think the events are wrong as they occur, rather lacking a touch more clarity in how it's demonstrated to the general audience. Thirdly, the abruptness or lack of setup in the episode. The events themselves are fine, but the execution, pun intended, could have used a few additional beats to ground her actions. Mainly that we don't even see her once till they march out. Even a short moment showing her resolve once the Astros arrive, or cameramen acknowledging her leadership before she leads them out, would have sold it better. And there's something else not many people talk about, which I think further makes this death feel out of place, and that's its location within Part 2. If we ignore the repeated scenes in Part 2 from Part 1, her death occurs only 1 minute into the part. That's fast. So not only is it soon into her arc, it's soon into the video. Of course, that'll give people whiplash. Compare this to Plungerman's death, which, while just as sad, mysterious, and abrupt, occurs around 6 minutes into episode 70 Part 3. There's a lot of build-up. If 79 had released as one part, even if nothing else changed, I think it would have felt a lot more organic. As I've said before though, we need to wait for the full episode. 79 isn't over, it's all leading up to something, and every issue we can think of may end up null and void. In addition to the lengthy clarification about the red screens, Boom has provided 2 short responses to the criticism of the episode. In this message to Crazy, one of his Discord admins, Boom mentioned that the strong reaction only motivates him more, rather than demotivating. This is a W response in my opinion. The passion of the reaction, even if it's negative, shows people care, and that only fuels him to keep pushing the story forward and improve, taking the criticism constructively. Boom also sent a fan an email which I mentioned earlier, urging that we carry on with him until the full episode. Uncharacteristically for Boom, in this email bro just fully confirms what happens in the next part, and that being the first appearance of the speaker bass, which is wild spoilers bro. I suppose he likely didn't plan to spoil that, but felt the need to tease something due to the viewer backlash. So for the full episode we know 2 main things. Duchess will be getting more development, and will be arriving at the speaker base. After looking at this from every possible angle, the scene itself, the hidden details, the community's criticisms, and even Boom's own comments, I think we've covered just about everything there is to say for now. I personally love the episode, and I love it even more combined, and I'm sure that the full episode will tie the bow that is very noticeably missing from this already very generous Skibidi surprise. So, that's all I have to say. Now I give the microphone to you guys. How do you feel about Kathy's death at this point? Do you think it was truly bad writing? Or do you think viewers were just taken by harsh surprise? Do you think it's completely irredeemable? Or do you think Boom has a well-thought-out plan laid out for her? This subject is really interesting to me. Please let me know your thoughts. I'll be reading them all. In conclusion, while horrifying, this episode feels like build-up to the biggest clapback the Astros have ever faced. Hopefully. Subscribe.